So I have been recording for a ridiculous amount of time, so I don't even know if I have the energy to record this opinion stuff now. Do you know what? I'm just gonna record it now. Maybe it's best to do it in a tired, I'm done with life state, so I can just get all the emotions out there. Right, so on my channel, I tend to be very unbiased. And when I do say my opinion, I say, this is my opinion. And that is very purposeful. I do that with the intent of trying to let people form their own opinions, because it is far too easy to just say something, not explain that that is just your opinion, you could be wrong, and then everybody else goes and thinks that. And I don't know everything in the universe. I'm sure I'm wrong about a lot of things. So obviously for the rest of what I'm going to say, this is all my opinion, okay? Everything. I'm not going to say it every 5 seconds because that's just going to double the length of the video. Generally, when I am recording a video, the fact that I remain unbiased about it, or I just say the facts of the matter, doesn't mean that I haven't already formed my own opinion. I've pretty much always got my own opinion on the situation. And sometimes I notice little bits of things which I don't know if everybody's going to pick up. And I want you guys to pick those things up, but I don't want to tell you what to think about them. So I will say things like, this is interesting. I wonder why they said this. I wonder why they did this. Oh, this sort of reminds me of this situation. In the hopes that it will let people practice their critical thinking skills and say, hey, that's interesting, let me think about that. And then from there, you can form your own complete opinion on that, which was not influenced by my opinion. So in yesterday's video, I asked, it's weird why they don't ever mention kiwi farms. You could hear that and go, they just don't mention it. You could hear it and go, oh, they just don't want people to go to a hate site. You could hear that and go, oh, maybe they're triggered by the words kiwi farms. Or you can think what I think, which is that there's a lot of evidence and a lot of screenshots and a lot of receipts and an entire timeline on TeamPinata on kiwi farms. Why in God's name would they want to spread that name around, let people get curious about it, and then they go on kiwi farms and find all that information? Whether any of it is true or not, it's still there and they don't want people seeing it. Think about it. If you had done some shady things and there was a website, an entire forum dedicated to your shady doings. Some of the things weren't true, some of the things were. You would avoid saying the name of the website like the plague, because you don't want people to read what you did. Anyway, moving on from that, I think that it is fairly ironic to see somebody who was a victim of, as TeamPinata was, because DID is a trauma disorder. You would have been abused or traumatized or something like that. And they claim to have been abused. So somebody who was probably emotionally abused at some point, for them to use emotionally manipulative language on their own audience is just, I'm just going to say ironic, because I can't think of a better word. And in my opinion, there is no denying that the entire language of that post was manipulative. They were trying to gaslight people, and gaslighting is an overused term, I'm going to say it, but they were trying to gaslight people, and they were trying to make people think that they were wrong for not supporting them. They were saying, you guys chased us off the community. You did this. And all these professionals say that we did nothing wrong. Nan, I've seen your artwork. I've seen it with my own eyes. Some of it fairly innocent. Some of it is, on the fence. You could see it as fine, you could see it as not. Some of it is definitely not okay. And I'm not going to go into details because I'm sure at least 80% of the people watching this know what I'm talking about. They know the pictures that I'm talking about, and those are not okay. And if a professional, meaning a professional therapist, not a professional photographer, saw those, they would say, hey, maybe that's not okay. The thing is though, what a therapist will say to you, they won't say, hey, that's bad, because that is not how you get help. That's not how you get better. They will say, okay, well, let's explore the reasons for why you did this. Let's help you understand your motives, help you understand your own reasoning. But allowing you to understand yourself is not the same as condoning your behavior. A good therapist will not tell you that you are a bad person. They will not. Whether they think you're a bad person or not, they won't do it. But just because they don't say that doesn't mean that they don't think what you're doing or what you have done is incredibly wrong. And there are so many things in that post that were just stupid. Like, actually stupid. And like, even one of the things yesterday, I don't remember which bit it was specifically, but I even had to say in that video that it was dumb. It was a dumb sentence. You know what? I think it was the bit about something like, oh, we posted those videos online, but we didn't think people would see them as, but they uploaded them to like sites or on their blog, tagged it porn. They tagged it porn and did not think that people would take it seriously. Now, if you were like doing this shit at 13 or something, right? I don't know what 13-year-old is doing this, but if you were, okay, fine. Maybe you didn't know. Maybe you're a bit dumb. You were an adult. You were a full adult when you did this. A fully grown adult. That makes absolutely no sense. And you know it makes absolutely no sense, and you're full of shit. You're genuinely full of shit. And I don't understand how you think that people will believe it. And I know you had some help writing this post, if you wrote any of it. I don't know that you did, but you definitely had some help with the language. And you were convinced that this was what was going to turn it around. You were going to tell people, hey, it's your fault for taking it seriously because I didn't understand. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're asexual. Great. Everybody knows that I'm in full support of the asexual community. Asexuals aren't unable to comprehend sexual desire. They understand what it means. That is like saying, okay, a lesbian draws a naked man, puts it on the internet and says, I didn't think anybody was going to take that seriously. Because just because they aren't attracted to men doesn't mean that they don't understand that other people are attracted to men. There's just so much ridiculousness. And my favorite bit of this whole response was the bit where they started talking about the amygdala, which, by the way, the first time I skimmed through it, it was spelt wrong. And I noticed that, but when I actually recorded the video, they'd edited it and they fixed the spelling of amygdala. Camera died, hence probable angle change. But anyway, I was saying, so they use big words like amygdala and prefrontal cortex to sound like they're smarter than everybody. To sound like they know what the hell they're talking about and nobody else does. When everybody knows what an amygdala and a prefrontal cortex is. Alright, at least to some degree, and especially people in the DID community. They've heard those terms. But what was so great about this was the fact that they tried to use it to say, you're triggered, so you are being illogical and unreasonable and attacking us, so it's your problem because you're triggered. They basically went, sounds like a you problem. It's just like, it just. I also want to mention something that I keep seeing brought up. I see it on Twitter, I see it in my comments, and that is people saying, hey, but like what they did, that wasn't that wrong? Like drawing things can be a coping mechanism for people with trauma. Sure, it can be. So say you were sexually assaulted, and now you have a hard time understanding things and you're trying to cope with your trauma. So you draw new, right? I think it's gross. Honestly, I do. But fine, you did that. Nobody can really judge you for just drawing it. But then you burn it, or you throw it away, or you get rid of it, and you're done with it. It stops being a coping mechanism when you put it on the internet and distribute it and tag it porn. And it stops becoming a coping mechanism when you make commissions, when you sell these art pieces to people. That's not a coping mechanism, that's distributing it. Have all the coping mechanisms you want. But first of all, don't involve other people in your coping mechanisms. And second of all, not all coping mechanisms are good coping mechanisms. Just because a trauma survivor does something to cope doesn't mean it's okay. If TeamPinata was up slitting their wrists, you wouldn't say, hey, they're just trying to cope. You would say, get them some help. They should not be doing that. And they should not be involving other people in that either. I don't know why it's that hard to understand. And another thing I just want to touch on briefly is people saying, not many people have said this, but I've seen a few people saying, I keep closing my eyes because my lamp is really bright. Oh, Dissociated were manipulated by TeamPinata. They only agreed with TeamPinata because they were manipulated, or TeamPinata manipulated them to think that their drawings were okay. First of all, that's just pure speculation. You have no reason to think that. There is no evidence pointing towards that being the case. And although that could be true, it really could be, it also really might not be. And you can't just completely take away any responsibility from someone without them saying it, without anybody saying it, and without any evidence. So just stop on that one, alright? I'm sick of seeing it. If Dissociated does come out and say, hey, TeamPinata manipulated us, then speculate all you want to, alright? But until somebody says something, stop. And the other thing I keep seeing in comments is, oh, but they said they're sorry. You're just not letting people grow and change and move on. They're trying to move on from all this. They said they were sorry originally. But this post says, hey, we're not sorry, we did nothing wrong. You actually did something wrong to us. So they're not trying to grow and they're not trying to change. They're trying to shift blame onto everybody else. Every single other person. And that's something I'm not fucking with that. That's a Gabby Hanna tactic. Alright, maybe they've been watching her. And I know full well some people are just going to brandish me as some TeamPinata hater. I don't hate them. I don't know them. It is, maybe with the exception of Gabby Hanna and Taylor Swift, it's quite difficult for me to hate somebody that I don't know. If they actually got help and moved on and were genuinely remorseful and changed their behavior, I would be happy for them. I would. But they are giving me reasons to dislike them and to distrust them. They're being manipulative. They're trying to be the victim in a situation where they're not the victim. And they're shifting blame onto everyone and not taking any accountability. It's not okay. It's not okay. So it's not being a hater. It's being a reasonable person and saying, hey, I don't like these behaviors of this person. Could you maybe do better, please? And I think the last thing I wanted to say, I'm sure there's something else I wanted to say, I'm forgetting, but the very last thing that I want to say is just something I've said a million times. I'm getting sick of saying it. Being a victim of something does not excuse you from ever doing anything wrong or for taking accountability from the things that you have done. If I went up and punched you in the face, would you say, oh, it's fine because she had a difficult life and she has trauma, and she has BPD, and she has CPTSD, and oh, she's just, she's been a victim. No, you would say, fuck you punched me in the face, what is wrong with you? You don't get let off the hook for having trauma. You do not. And if you're gonna say, because somebody will say, you don't have DID, you don't understand what it's like. Alright, I don't have DID. Why isn't Multiplicity and me going around drawing children? Why isn't the entropy system distributing pictures of children on the internet? Why isn't Bobo and Co involving everybody in their secret fetish and not telling them? Because having DID does not mean that you get to be a bad person. Simple as that. And if you don't get that, I guess you just don't get that. Right, so quick outtake thing. There's a couple of things that I missed yesterday. First of all, to point out, because people are going to be confused, I recorded this whole thing before I read DID and me's post. So that's like the only reason that I didn't mention it. Because people are just going to be asking about that. And yeah, something I don't remember if I put this in the video, but I think I didn't. I think I forgot. But I wanted to mention the that bit where like TeamPinata or Riven or whoever, something like, oh, well, like minors can't consent, so they can't actually be in, because porn is with two consenting adults, so it's actually called CSEM or something like that. Shut the fuck up. What are you talking about? That's ridiculous. That's the stupidest. You're just arguing over the name now because you have nothing left to argue. Like, like I don't know how to explain what I'm thinking. Why are you arguing over what it's called? It's people don't care because of the name of it. They care about what you did. Like, just shut the fuck up. Right. I think that was the only thing that I was supposed to mention. I think. Yeah. That was it. I think. So, go on with the rest of the video. Like, yeah. I look like absolute trash. Okay, never mind. Bye. So, to sum up, it's absolutely ridiculous to say that you didn't understand what you were doing because you full well did. Don't bullshit me. Nan, get some help. Genuinely. And real help. Not therapists who claim It's fine. Everything you do is fine. You're doing so well, sweetie. That's not help. Take an actual look at yourself and wonder, why is everybody against you? It's not because there's a hate campaign, because there have been attempted hate campaigns against countless people in the world, and many of those campaigns never took off. And you know why? Because they were against innocent people, and people could recognize that. If everybody is so against you, it's because you have done something wrong. So accept that and learn from that. Please, for yourself, if not for anybody else. Final note. This is something I tweeted out, but it seemed to resonate with a lot of people. Telling trauma survivors to take accountability for their actions is not shaming trauma survivors. It is telling them to change and be better so they don't become people. This was a little bit more ranty than I meant it to be. I have, oh god, this is really long. This is probably going to be a 2-part video, isn't it? You guys will know by now. Anyway, that's going to be it from me for now. So, as I probably didn't say at the start of this video, or maybe as I did, please subscribe and click the bell button to get notifications on upload, and check out memberships. And you can also follow me on social media. Like, comment, share, do all the things that I'm supposed to ask you to do at the end of a video, and have a wonderful day. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.